Hi, this is Matthew. Today I wanted to talk to you about the International Marxist Tendency, or IMT. This is the second of a two-part video series. If you haven't watched the first video, go to the NehemiahReset.org website or to our Rumble.com channel. It will be beneficial if you watch the second video in the series first. Many of you have not heard of this organization. This group is one of the organizations behind many of the riots and protests that have occurred in the last couple of years. It is a growing movement that you should be aware of. Ultimately, the historical impasse of the capitalist system, and American capitalism in particular, is the driving force behind the rise of revolutionary ideas among the young generation. The crises and contradictions of their time stem from the fact that they believe that this system should have been overthrown over a century ago. They believe that the profit-driven production for the market and the constraints of the nation-state have long outgrown their ability to take humanity as a whole forward. As an example, they cite the climate catastrophe, and the capitalist class's impotence when dealing with the urgent and dramatic measures demanded by the situation. Of course, this is the view put forth by the left to help create chaos around the world. In reality, they have heard about the danger of climate change for decades and its imminent danger to society. If what they said was true, you would think they would put more pressure on China and Russia, as these are two of the largest economies contributing the most danger to the climate. However, the real reason behind this movement is to gain control over the populace. This is the reason that the Marxist movement fully supports the climate change agenda. In the meantime, they also city billionaires like Jeff Bezos. He has accumulated such obscene wealth that many are toying with leaving the world and its problems behind, by embarking on recreational space voyages. Coupled with such mind-boggling wealth disparities, declining living standards, the pandemic, and the earth-shaking events of the George Floyd movement, it is not hard to see why the process of class struggle is intensifying. John Peterson spoke about the growing wave of strike activity at companies like Kellogg's and Nabisco, and among construction workers in the Pacific Northwest. The militancy of those organized in the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, whose 60,000 members authorized a strike by a virtually unanimous vote, shows that the stage is being set for a rise in open class struggle on a scale they've not seen in living memory. Last summer's mass movement against systemic racism and police terror was the most momentous event of 2020 and marks a turning point in history. It was an inspiring and unprecedented outpouring of solidarity and a sign of the kind of mass struggles in store in the years ahead. As stated in their ITM Perspectives document, the centerpiece of the discussions on day one. The events of the last few years can leave no doubt that there have been many people involved in rebellions across the world. With the George Floyd movement, American workers have had a glimpse at their revolutionary potential and future. If a strong Marxist organization with roots in the key cities and layers of the working class had been in position across the USA, they believed that 2020 could have marked the beginning of the end for world capitalism. John Peterson's remarks were followed by a lively discussion by the delegates, all of whom added various angles and debated the amendments which the branches had submitted to the draft document. The session was a culmination of a months-long exchange of ideas within the organization, aimed at producing the highest quality perspectives document to date. After the delegates voted on the various amendments, the final draft was put to a vote and approved unanimously by the Congress. The ITM Perspective session was followed by a thorough report on the work of the IMT around the world, delivered once again by Fred T. via video. Comrades were inspired to hear about the growth of so many sections of the International, and the many new footholds they are establishing in one country after another. To close out the first day of the Congress, Comrade Pete Walsh gave an inspiring launch to an organization-wide dues increase campaign. Pete explained that much of their recent progress comes down to their ability to harness the opportunities implicit in the objective situation, and it takes money to do this. In light of the many ordeals faced by revolutionaries throughout history, the act of digging deep to collectively finance their activities presents them with a more bearable burden, an additional sacrifice many comrades were willing to make. The argument that they themed was that the capitalists will never fund the force that will overthrow them, and their financial independence guarantees their political independence. They are beholden only to their comrades, their program, and the ideas of Marxism. After a successful first day filled with much discussion, learning, debate, and applause, it was time for an evening of food, drinks, camaraderie, and revolutionary singing. Day 2 was dedicated to the topic of Bolshevism and the concrete tasks facing Marxists in the USA at the present juncture. Antonio Balmer kicked off the first session with an overview of the development of the IMT over the last period, and organizational perspectives for the decade ahead of them. The USA section of the IMT began in 1998 as the undertaking of a single cadre living in Fargo, North Dakota, armed only with the ideas and methods of the International, and confidence that great historic events would confirm their perspectives. Since then, the IMT has steadily spread from coast to coast, laying the foundations for the type of organization that can assemble around its banner the most serious of the leftward-moving revolutionary youth of this generation. While previous decades presented major challenges in the spreading of Marxist ideas, today they see that the tide has turned decisively among the layer of the working class that has grown up in the post-2008 era. The past decade has revealed a clear leftward trajectory. From the vague class content of the Occupy movements there are the 99% to the rise of the liberal reformism of modern-day democratic socialism to the rising interest in unequivocally revolutionary ideas. Today, Marxism is viewed favorably by 27% of millennials and 30% of Gen Z. Translated into hard numbers, these statistics suggest that some 39 million young people are open to the ideas defended by the IMT. This number continues to grow as more and more of our youth are being indoctrinated in our schools and universities. It is no wonder that we saw riots like those in Seattle across the country a few years ago. One only needs to guess how big these riots would be today if they were to take place. You can get a good idea of this when we look at the anti-Semitism demonstrations that took place in late 2023. However, these tens of millions of young people remain largely isolated and atomized. They say their task is to transform this radicalization from an undercurrent into an organized and disciplined political force that can play the role of a transmission belt for carrying revolutionary ideas into the struggles of the working class. The 2021 organizational resolution, which was also debated and approved unanimously by the delegates, highlighted the legacy and modern relevance of Bolshevism as a method for training the cadres who will act as a backbone and a skeletal framework for a much larger organization down the road. The subsequent afternoon sessions then delved into the specific platforms of their work nationally, giving the comrades a chance to hear reports of their activities in the labor movement, on picket lines, with other organizations in the movement, and among the youth on campuses across the country. The sessions gave a general picture of an active and energetic cadre organization that is picking up steam and learning to sink roots among a broader layer of the working class. As their branches grow and develop, they become increasingly efficient training grounds for the political education of new comrades, who receive a grounding in the foundations of Marxism and the basic skills and methods for building the branches. John Peterson delivered the closing comments to bring the Congress to a rousing finale. Drawing from the Hegel quote that opens their ITM Perspectives document, Mr. Peterson highlighted the idea that their epoch is a birth time and a period of transition. They are on the threshold of a new dawn which, in a flash and at a single stroke, brings into view the form and structure of the new world, the dawn of world socialism. This sounds similar to the objectives of the World Economic Forum, who is promoting the idea of a Great Reset. Yet this organization wants to achieve a Great Reset but doesn't envision what the WEF is trying to achieve, world control. It is their great fortune to be fighting for the socialist revolution at a time when history is preparing a mass audience for Marxist ideas. John Peterson recalled the words of the poet William Wordsworth, who took inspiration from the experience of the Great French Revolution. Bliss was it in that dawn to be alive. But to be young was very heaven. These words capture the sense of revolutionary optimism that drives their fight for socialism in their lifetime. I also don't believe they really understand what their success will bring. It will bring more intense slavery. One only needs to look at the countries that are communist or Marxist today. Is there freedom in Russia, China, Venezuela or in Iran? In all cases revolution has resulted in untold amounts of deaths and eventually a form of slavery and control. Comrade John's closing remarks were met with a standing ovation and a heartfelt eruption into the anthem of the world working class. After such an inspiring and energizing event, it was hard for many to say their goodbyes and part ways. But comrades went back to their cities with a redoubled commitment and a sense of urgency for the political tasks before them, with an eager excitement to see how much bigger their next national gathering would be next time. After hearing this recount of this event and you aren't concerned about the direction our country is going, I don't know what else I can say. With many organizations like ITM, Black Lives Matter, and other leftist groups growing each day, there will come a time in the near future when our country will undergo a revolution where those who want to destroy capitalism are on one side and those who want to preserve it are on the other. We desperately need to stem the tide of millennials and Gen Zs who see socialism, communism and Marxism as a better system than capitalism. Certainly capitalism is not perfect, but the United States has lasted longer than any other society in human existence. All attempts to form a perfect Marxist, communist or socialist state in the past have failed. All existing societies who currently follow a Marxist or socialist type government have resulted in a ruling class and a controlled class. The middle class does not exist. This is slowly taking place in the United States. We pray that Americans will wake up soon and change the direction of our country. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video about the ITM and its purpose and potential danger to America. If we hope to save America, we need to eliminate the indoctrination going on in our institutions today. Leftist ideology is being promoted in all segments of our society. Christians must become more engaged with these institutions by running for school board, state and national government and other offices of influence. To learn more about Nehemiah Reset and to watch other videos on the cultural issues of today, go to our website at nehemiahreset.org or to our rumble.com channel. Have a great day.